Hello and welcome to Livery Hub. In this video I'm going to walk through the features for community owners and their delegates for managing the community. So all of that starts from this button here where you can create a new community. The first thing we ask you to do is just read a bit of blurb and acknowledge the goals that we set out for creating Livery Hub and for how it should work, and that that's going to mean a little bit more work for you, but in the end it's worth it for your members, isn't it? So you select the checkbox to acknowledge that, and then you get a form to fill in. It's a pretty straightforward form. We need a name for your community, a description of it. This is your opportunity to put maybe a bit of marketing blurb in there for those that come and find Livery Hub website by accident. You can put if you have your own website, you can put that in here, put the URL for that in here. If you use SimGrid, you can put the URL for that community in here. Same if you use SimRacing GP to host your races, then you can put the URL for that in here. And then here you should put a Discord invite link in there. Make sure when you create that link, that invite link, that you create one that doesn't expire. It's a pretty straightforward thing to do, and I'm sure if you use Discord you know how to do that. But yeah, make sure it's one that doesn't expire, otherwise people will try to join your community or maybe go from there to your Discord server and not get anywhere, which is not a good look. And then the final thing you can do here is upload a logo for your community. So mention here that it shouldn't be more than 256 by 256 pixels. Whatever size you make it, we are going to scale the width down to 128 pixels when we display it on the website, and the height will then scale proportionally. So make sure that that's not going to look weird. Ideally make it square. Whatever size you upload, if it's square, then you won't have a problem with the scaling being weird. I'm not actually going to fill this in because I don't really want to have a community. This is live, would go into the live database, and I don't really want to create anything there. So once you filled all of that in, your save button will be enabled. You can click on save, and then we'll take you back to your dashboard where that community should appear, just like our Livery Hub test one does. From here you can edit that. You can go into this button, change the name, change the description, add any URLs that you didn't put in before, change the logo if you wish, and then again, if you make any changes, the save button will be enabled. If it's not enabled, it means there aren't any changes to save, so we don't kind of let you do it for no good reason. The other thing that you've got here is the ability to delegate ownership rights to other users. So if you're the owner, you're the only one that has the permissions to do things like create activities, and later when we move some of this functionality into the app, you'll be the only person that would be able to make the changes and to edit it. Through this button here, you can enter the email address of other people who are part of your community that you want to have the same rights, and assuming they have an account on Livery Hub that uses that email address, so ideally they would have registered first and you get the email address from them, and once you've put that in there, this button will be enabled to add them as a delegate, and then this page will show you those delegates on here and give you the ability to remove them later if they move on or anything like that. So that's that bit. So that's the website side of things. So here you can create a community, edit it, and delegate ownership rights to other people who have an account within via their email address. So assuming you've done you've gone through the process of getting Livery Hub. Let's get into Livery Hub. So here already. You then have a couple of things that you can do in the app at the moment. Let's start with the simplest one. under linked liveries, if you are the owner of that community, as I am, as you can see, it says here I'm the owner of my community, or a delegate owner of that community, you will find a button that nobody else gets to see, labeled block. And the idea behind this is that you can block somebody who has joined your community and uploaded or linked a livery to it for any reason, and you don't want them to be to do that. You don't want that livery to be used. So it might just be that their livery is bad. You know, they've put a bad picture, or you know for a fact that it's a livery that is junk, shouldn't be used, or even that there's somebody that's not a member. It belongs to somebody who is not a member of your community. We don't at the moment provide any kind of approval process or anything like that. We don't provide any other way for you to block a user other than blocking the livery that they might have attached. So you click block, and like I'll do that here with Fred Flintstone. Oh, okay. Let me just refresh that. It does that sometimes. I haven't been able to find a reason why. You can see here it says they're blocked. I've blocked Fred Flintstone, and my block button is now turned into an unblock button. So if you talk to them and get them to replace that livery and you want to unblock it, you can do so there. Okay, so that's blocking liveries linked to your communities. The other part of administration is basically managing what appears in this section here, the activities. So there are two ways you can use, well, you can probably come up with different ways, but basically it's designed to be used in two ways. If you want to do nothing but create a livery and have all of your members link their liveries to your community, then you won't need to use this button for anything. There they can link to this livery, and then other members that want to get those liveries will click the sync button and possibly at some point the cleanup button as they need to make sure they get those liveries. The problem we see with that, and why we didn't have it in the early versions of this, was that it means that people end up having to wait longer for syncing, because you could end up with hundreds of liveries linked to your community, and each time they sync, Livery Hub has to go through, check if they've got it already installed, have we got a newer version, and so on, and then to download it, unpack it, and all like that. Originally, the way we designed Livery Hub was to support syncing at the individual race event level, because that's the way we would prefer to work. That is, just before an event starts, I sync, get all the liveries for that event, and then when the event's finished, I come and clean up so that my local machine is kept nice and clean. I don't have hundreds of liveries that I never use. Since then, we've changed it from event to activity, so we leave that up to you. You can have an activity that is a championship, a season, an individual race event, pretty much anything, any concept you can come up with that has a start and end date. Yeah, so you can see here each of these activities shows a start date and time and an end date and time. And that's where then your members would sync at that level. You can do both, but we recommend you sort of work out the way you want to work, communicate to your members how you as a community want to work, and then they'll sync at the right level. Of course, if you never create any activities, the only option they've got is to sync at the community level. But syncing at activity levels means they can link separate cars for each race if that's supported, or separate cars for each season, because one season is probably only a certain one class of, or maybe two classes of cars. It's certainly not all of them. So using activities as a way of syncing means things are faster for your members, and they don't have lots of liveries that they don't want on their machine. Yes, it means a little bit more work for them as well, because they have to remember to come and sync for that activity beforehand, but you know, it's a balance. It depends on how you and your community want to work. So if you are using activities, then at the moment, that's the main thing that the manage button on your community allows you to do. So it shows you a list of the activities that you've defined already. And by default, it only shows you the active ones. So the ones that are current in terms of, you know, the current date is somewhere between the start and end, or they haven't yet started. So they're considered to still be active. And if you want to see the ones that are no longer active, you can just click the Show All button, and it will show them, show all of the activities that you've defined. To add an activity, you can use this form. It's pretty straightforward. The minimum we need is a name, a start date, and an end date. The description can be left empty if you wish. When it comes to the start and end dates, you have to put in both the date and the time. And that's to cater for events which may only be active for a few hours, whereas seasons will be days and possibly weeks. You know, you might be defining your activities at a week level, so you know, the time may not be so relevant there, but you would at least want to put the time to be the time that it ends at the end of the day rather than the beginning of the day. So that's the three things that are required. When you provide a name, start date, end date, the add button will become available, and you can add that. So that allows you to add them individually. At some point, we will make it so that you can select one of these and edit it down here as well. But at the moment, the only way to edit events is through the CSV import that we provide via this button up here. So when you click on that, it basically tells you gives you some instructions, tells you the format that's required for the file. But these buttons here will give you some help on that. Just gives you some examples there of what the file needs. But basically, a CSV file, just in case you aren't aware, means CSV stands for comma separated value, and it's a way of creating data in a very simple format where you can have column names a row of column names separated by commas, and then each item that you want to import. So in our case, each activity you want to report is a new row or a separate row, and then the values are separated by commas matched to the columns. If you've never created an activity on Livery Hub, then this button here will get you a template that you can use, and I've downloaded one previously, so I'll just show you that quickly. And it's this one here. So when you click that button, we give you a file like this. You get to choose where it should go and what it should be called. But it shows the columns that are needed, so name, description, start, end, and hide. I'll explain hide in a moment. And then we give you one sample row that you can that shows the format and things of dates and stuff that you need to use. You'd obviously want to replace that, and then each new one goes on a separate row by adding a new line. So that's for if you're starting from scratch and you've got no activities whatsoever. This hide option allows you to specify true or false to hide an activity. So you might use that if you want to make sure that an activity that's expired never gets seen. We don't let you delete them, but you can hide them using by setting this to true. But you might also want to use it if you want to register the events but don't want them to be seen as active at any point until you've finished. You know, maybe there's some more setup that you need to do, some more configuration. You don't want them to be available in Livery Hub until you've finished all of that. So that's what the hide is about. Yeah, so when you click this button here, we'll ask you where you want that file to go and what you want to call it and so on. It'll default to Livery Hub activity or your community name followed by activities without any spaces in there. And the other option you have is if you've already created some activities the old way, which used to be via the website, and you want to get those into a CSV file, which might be a nice convenient way to manage them going forward. Click Export My Activities. Again, you get to choose where you want that to go, but I've done it before, so I'll just go and open that one. So this one up here. And I'll open that in a text editor. You can open these in spreadsheets, of course, Excel, Google Sheets, any other spreadsheet application you have. Just make sure that when you save changes, you are saving as CSV format, and the application doesn't convert it to its own internal format when it saves. But as you can see here, this has given me a complete list of all of my activities, or all the activities, fake activities I've created for Livery Hub. If you want to change anything, so maybe this is where you might want to come and change the hide from true to from false to true if you're delaying the actual publication of it, or you want to change the finish time, anything like that, then you can come in here, edit this, add new ones on each row, save the changes, and then when you come back into Livery Hub, you can browse for that file. So if I take that one, okay, once it's actually registered it and got it cached, it puts the file name in here, and now the import button is available. Click import, and you'll see the progress of whatever it's doing showing here. So in this case here, it didn't find any new events, but it matched 10 of the events to existing events, and then just made sure that they were up to date. It doesn't actually overwrite them if there's no changes. It just makes sure that they're there. That is your those are the tools that we've got for you. The key thing to watch out for is with this import is these names. This is what we use for matching the existing activities. So if you change the name on one of these, we're not going to match it. Therefore, we're going to end up creating a new one. So be careful of that. If it ends up creating a new one by accident, then all of the liveries linked to that original activity will still be linked to that activity, and you'll end up with another one. If you do end up with that, then please get in touch with me, and I can sort it out at the database level. And yeah, in a nutshell, that's about it for for Livery Hub and your community admin tools. Thanks for watching. I hope it was helpful.